It was a quiet spring morning when Angela Williams gave birth to twin girls in a modest hospital just outside London, but what happened that day would ripple far beyond the walls of that delivery room. When the doctor lifted the babies into the soft, early light, a stunned silence fell over the room. The first twin, Mariah, had warm brown skin, thick black curls, and deep amber eyes. The second, Lucy, was almost ethereal, porcelain white skin, strawberry blonde wisps, and piercing blue eyes. The contrast was so stark that for a split second, Angela thought there had been a mistake. But the nurses quickly confirmed, both girls had shared the same womb, the same heartbeat rhythm for 9 months. It was a 1 in a million genetic phenomenon, an expression of Angela's mixed Nigerian-English heritage and her husband David's Irish lineage. The world soon caught wind of the story, and within days, the different color twins were on morning news shows, splashed across magazine covers, and the subject of awe-filled documentaries. But behind the wonder and curiosity, Angela and David quietly worried about what life would be like for two girls who looked so different yet were born as one. Childhood was a blend of confusion and fierce love. In school, kids asked cruel questions. Are you adopted? How can you be sisters? And teachers often assumed they were just close friends. Mariah, with her darker skin, sometimes felt like the world treated her as the other, while Lucy was often praised for her unique beauty, a term Mariah rarely heard from strangers. Still, the bond between them was indestructible. They shared secrets under blankets at night, fought over crayons, protected each other on the playground, and would never let anyone diminish the fact that they were twins, real, true, soul-deep twins. Angela always taught them that beauty didn't come in one color, and David often reminded them that being different was a kind of superpower. As they grew, the contrast in their appearance only became more pronounced, but so did their confidence. They wore shirts that read, "Sister, not stranger," and always filled out school forms with "twin" in the sibling box, no matter how many raised eyebrows followed. The world had once celebrated them for their rarity, but it was in their private world, filled with giggles, diary confessions, and long talks under the stars, that they truly grew into who they were meant to be. Their story had gone viral once by accident, but none of the headlines captured the complexity of their experience, the pride, the pain, and the quiet power of growing up with someone who doesn't look like your mirror, but still reflects your heart. And while the world may have forgotten about the miracle twins, over time, Mariah and Lucy had never forgotten each other. Or the promise they made in whispered tones as children: no matter what the world saw, they would always walk side by side. Years passed, and the world that once watched Mariah and Lucy grow with curiosity slowly moved on to other viral moments, leaving the girls with only fading headlines and childhood memories marked by stares, whispered comments, and well-meaning strangers asking intrusive questions. But the silence that followed became their sanctuary, a space where they could craft their own identities without the noise of the world's expectations. Now in their 20s, the twins stood taller than ever, not just in height, but in who they had become. Mariah had blossomed into a fierce advocate for racial equity, her voice powerful, articulate, and unwavering. She studied human rights law, often speaking at youth panels, using her story not as a spectacle but as a bridge to discuss colorism, identity, and the unspoken struggles of growing up different. Lucy, on the other hand, had embraced art and photography, her lens capturing stories of contrast and connection, highlighting underrepresented beauty. It was Lucy who insisted on creating a short documentary about their lives, not to go viral, but to reclaim their story on their terms. They filmed it in the places that shaped them: their childhood bedroom with mismatched posters on the wall, the park where they had their first fight and made up under a tree, and their high school auditorium where they first stood on stage together for a school play. In one powerful scene, Mariah reads from her teenage journal: "I used to wonder if the world would love me more if I looked like Lucy. But then I realized I don't want love that's conditional. I want love that sees me, all of me." Lucy, filming behind the camera, whispered back, "I always saw you." The documentary premiered at a local festival and unexpectedly blew up online. Not because of their appearance, but because of their honesty, their bond, and the raw, unfiltered beauty of their story. Suddenly, the world wasn't gawking, it was listening. Interviews poured in, offers for book deals, speaking engagements, and collaborations. But this time, Mariah and Lucy were in control. They didn't want fame, they wanted impact. They launched a platform together called Untwinned, focusing on helping young people navigate mixed identity, siblinghood, and belonging. Standing together on a TEDx stage, dressed in complementary shades of gold and mahogany, they told the audience, "We were born looking different, but we were always whole. Don't let your reflection limit your connection." Their speech went viral not for shock value, but for soul. They had come full circle, from children the world tried to define, to women who defined themselves. In their eyes, being different was never about skin, it was about spirit. And now, as they looked out at the crowd filled with young people of every shade, they knew the world had finally caught up to the truth they had known all along. Twinhood isn't about how you look, it's about how deeply you love, protect, and grow beside someone who shares your soul.